Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, Doctor.
Yeah, hi. You all can hear me, huh?
Can, Doctor.
Yes.
Okay, right. So, yes, 10 people. I thought we have more than that in the class. I know Grace will be a bit late. Ainun cannot attend. Anyone else, huh? Who is missing, huh? Oh, we have 12 people in the class only, me? Any one of you cannot key in your attendance? Cannot scan? No, okay, never mind. All right, so we are in week 7 now. Basically halfway through all the LUs. So any issues, any problems? Hope you guys are progressing well with your RP1, 2, and 3, eh? Because in about a month time, about a month or so time, we will be about in 1 month and 2 weeks time, you'll be doing your presentation already, yeah? Okay. Today, our task is to go through cost management, and I have an assignment for you. Project. This is a project. What Dr. Lee has for you is an assignment. So assignment is individual work, but project is supposed to be a group project which you need to do in groups, okay? You see that Dr. Lee and I both have some questions for you, like as a bonus question. So each of these bonus question is about 0.5 marks. And we'll have about 4, 2 from her and 2 from me. And total will be about 2 marks. That will be 2 marks out of 100 marks, meaning that you are getting essentially 102 marks. You see, so 2 marks makes a lot of difference, honestly, because it's actually critical that, you know, sometimes you get 58, 59, or 56, 57. I give you the 2 marks, you become 59, and I can just maybe find another mark to pass you, you see. So it makes a lot of difference in that sense. So I want you all to put some attention to it, okay? This is the project. Sorry, this is a CPS form. Project. Okay. Wait, give me a minute, okay? Sorry. This is my project, group project CPS. This is the rubrics. Wait. Okay. It's my, sorry, where's my files? This is weird. Oh yeah, here, all right. Okay, you all can see, yeah? So in a group of 3, okay, 2 to 3, 2 is a pair word lah, huh? 3 is normal, okay? If you cannot make 3, if suddenly there is a group that, because of the numbers of the class, if there is a weird one person out, yeah, you are allowed to join other groups lah, huh? If there's such a situation, maybe I would say there would be about one group that will probably have like group of 2 or something, and yeah, or 2 groups that have 2 person. it's up to you. I have no objection whether it's a 3 or 2 lah, huh? And basically what I need you all to do for your group project, because this is going to be a lot more, the work is a lot more compared to an assignment. Assignment is we are just going through certain tasks with you. This one here, we need a proper report that comprises of cost planning and then contracting and tendering strategy later. All right. And that's why in these 3 weeks, I will be doing cost management and procurement management. When I have a week 9 physical class with you, we will be also, I would like to see the project from you, so that you know, we will go through, we'll spend a lot of time on the project itself, because this is 30% of marks. It's quite a lot of marks actually. So we want you to get at least 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, even if possible 26, 28, you know, kind of marks out of the project. But to get 28, 27, 28, you know, 26, 25 and above, it has to be a very outstanding report, huh? Very clean, very outstanding, good explanation and all that. So not as simple as you think. It really takes some effort. You need to put some effort into project, the paper arrangements and setting up the budget, cost estimator worksheet, and it will actually, and then do enough of explanation and all that, so that you can get good marks. But we do want you to get over 20. If you get anything less than 20, there's a good chance that you'll be failing the subjects, because people who can't even do well in assignments will not be able to do well in exams. That would be the conclusion that I can see from year in, year out, teaching this for so many years, you see. So scoring in your assignment needs to score at least 15, 16, 15, 17 even, you know, and then this one you need to score at least 21, 22, 23, 24 even. Yeah, so you already get like almost 30 marks, you see. But we don't want you just to pass lah. I mean, we want you to get good marks lah, huh? Let's say you get 24 and then your assignment you get 16, for example. You basically have already 14 marks in your pocket, you see. So then you score another 30% for assignment, is easily a B, a B plus already. So this is what you should be targeting for, huh? So what I need you to do is you need to prepare a report that has project background. Okay, you have a proper project background, what the project is all about, where's the location of the project, what is the project scope of work, and then explain the scope of work in the work breakdown structure. You need to show us a work breakdown structure and explain every package of work. And then after that, you know, like work breakdown structure is something that is related to your scope management. Remember, your product that needs to be split up into different components and subcomponents, and then after that, work breakdown is the work that you do to complete each subcomponent and to complete the final component, and the final components and then the final product. So from the components of work you're doing is basically like the components that you need to have, you'll be related to the work that you do. Work is very physical. So if you go through my pre-recorded lecture, we explain at the end, we're talking about work breakdown structure and different type of work breakdown structures, and the work breakdown structure is basically activities that needs to be conducted. You know, it's physical activities that needs to be conducted in order for you to complete the components or subcomponents, and then combining different activities, different work package together, you are going to complete the components, and then after that, that will be when all the components are completed, you get your final product, and that is a scope. So scope management describes the scope, the components, the subcomponents, and also the work activities, the activities that goes into the project. And that was the main lessons that I went through with you guys in that 3 weeks, that at the end of the day, you need to know what work that you're doing. So here is going to be a very important part for you to write about your project, write about your project scope, and write about your project, the location, the locality, what the project is all about, what product are you building, are you constructing, and then describing the components, and then describing the components with drawings, even with with drawings, with sketches and all that. And then after that, from there, each component, what are the work breakdown, what are the work activities that goes into that those subcomponents, and then from there, how do you build up into smaller details of work, and then to complete those work means the completion of this particular component and subcomponents, and then the final scope of work. Yeah, so that would be the whole entire scope management. And we also mentioned to you that because the whole process of coming up with that scope is actually not as simple as just throwing things in and then say you want to build this and then you just go and design and that's it. There's a lot of consideration that needs to be made in your feasibility studies, in your cost benefit analysis, and in your engineering economics, which I think last week, Dr. Lee, we already went through with you some of the techniques and tools that you need for your study. You see, to study the options that are available, and then after that, you really need the which option is the best for this particular product, for example, or this particular facilities that you are building. And yes, so we do robustness tests, we do feasibility studies, we do risk studies, and then for us to confirm on the scope, you see. And once the scope is confirmed, you actually break it down into the works. Here, basically, I need you all to, I really need to see the work breakdown structure. And not only just to give me a work breakdown structure, if you just give me a work breakdown structure, like let's say this is the work, figure 1 is the work breakdown structure. If that way you do, without any explanation on the scope, on the options on the scope, and also on the why this scope is chosen, and therefore the description of the scope, and then the components, the description of the components, and then how that is translated to work activity, and work activity, how you use a work breakdown to summarize those work activity. You have to write it in the report. If you don't do that, we would not give you high marks. You see, like if you do that well, you're looking at 24, 25 kind of grades. But if you just put it there only without any explanation, you definitely be getting around the 20 marks, like 20, it can be 18, it can be 20, you probably not be more than 20 or 21 maximum. So you really need to be aware, it's the amount of description, the amount of explanation you put in the project for people to understand what you're trying to do here. So from this work breakdown structure, you also do your resources analysis, which again, you've already done that in your assignment. So you can take the same assignment to do this for your project, or you can take the format that you have already used to describe resources in your time assignment, okay, and then duplicate that for a project that you all agree upon, and then you need to list down the material, manpower, and machineries for each activity within the work breakdown structure. And then from there, every work component, what is the cost of it? And some of it will be related to schedule as well. Okay, and from scheduling, so from what you do with Dr. Lee to come up with the schedule can be used as part of the work cost component calculation, because like material, manpower and machineries, most of it are time-based. So you need to know the schedule for the manpower and the machineries. So you need to know how much time that you'll be using this machinery in this work activity. And if you're using it for 2 weeks, how much does 1 day cost? And then this is how it costs, how much it costs to use the particular machine for this particular activity. Then it's very clear, you see. So you need to do a nice you really need to do a nice breakdown on material, manpower, machinery. Some students obviously they will just say that, oh, this is the machinery list, this is the manpower list, this is the material list, and they never related that to the schedule, and they never relate that to the work breakdown structure. These people will definitely get less than 20, because they are only giving a list of material, a list of manpower, and a list of machinery, and they cannot show us that where they got their cost component. This is a detailed work breakdown structure. There is no need to do parametric. There's no need to do a conceptual calculation. There's no need to do like historical data and all that. It is basically cost of each component of the work times with the rate. But rate, you need to find out where is your rate. You can give us list of material, list of machinery, list of manpower, and these are associated with the rate. You know, many people take it as just simply list of the material, and that is relationship to the quantity. Actually, it is not. Okay, so you must show us, because cost is quantity times by rate, you see. So if you want to do list of material, list of manpower, list of machinery, it's better for you to attach the rate for it. Rates are per day how much, per week how much, per month how much, per ton how much, per kilogram how much, per meter cube how much, per meter square how much, per row how much, you see. So you can put rate in with the list, but then later on, you need to also tell us where you get the rate from. All these are very important. This is a master's project. This is not an undergraduate studies project that you can assume the lecturers know what you're trying to get here. It's very important for you to be able to communicate your idea, your thinking, and your creativity across on papers. And because we don't have you just imagine if you want to win a job, see, and convince the client of your good effort and goodwill to do the job for them, you need to write a good report, okay? And that will actually open the door for you to be invited maybe to come in for presentation. If you give a very shabby report with pages and pages and pages of tables, you know, without any explanation, without any sample calculations, we would generally feel like this is very lazy and nobody wants to look at numbers, you know, and then nobody will call you in and describe the work a lot more. You know, your idea, your thinking, your creativity. We won't bother with you because we know that you're not serious about this, you see. So same goes with studying academic, or same goes with your working your working experience. You must be able to convey, you know, very clear, concise manner to the audience that this is what you're doing and this is how you come up with the numbers, to convince me that the numbers that you're giving me are very accurate. And it makes me as a client feel very satisfied and also very trust. I have that trust. You build up the trust with me as your client. And then even if you don't show every single calculation, because when I see your estimation processes, I felt like you know what you're doing, and I'll be very happy to read the rest of the numbers, you see. Otherwise, I can't trust you to give me a good project if you can't even do a good report in the first place. So I also want to see some S-curve as well. After you've done the final budgeting, I want to see an S-curve. And this component will take up about 15% of your overall grades. Actually, honestly, this one will be a lot more. This is about 20%. On paper, it's actually 15-15 for the two components. But the marking, you will see that 20% will go towards this particular section. It's just that when I put in the marks later on, I have to put like 15, 15. So when I do the marking, work breakdown and all these estimation processes is a lot more. It will be 20%. And then the contracting part and the tendering proposal part and the procurement part, I will be marking only 10%, giving you 10% marks, because these are a bit more theoretical compared to practice. So the marks is a lot lower. So when I combine the marks together, I will divide by 2 so that I can key in 15, 15 each. You see, so it does not mean that they are the same components, they are the same marks. It's just the final overall build up of the marks comes from cost plan 20%, contracting, tendering proposal 10%, but the presentation of the marks will be 15, 15. Okay, so this is the project brief lah. So the other component of it will be focusing on system thinking, doing the project environment, and then coming up with the contracting strategy and tendering strategy that is best suited to the project. So this one here, you just take a look first, but I think you really should start off with your project as ASAP. I have about 3 weeks with you still, because the last week that I have with you will be on the 28th or 29th, 22nd of April, I think, and that will be Hari Raya. For Wan Bing who doesn't know what is Hari Raya, Hari Raya is one of our national holiday in Malaysia, where all our Malay friends here will be celebrating their New Year. So it's a very big thing in Malaysia, because we have a very big, we have major population here is Malay. So most people will be going back to their hometown. It's just like maybe national holiday in China or Chinese New Year in China, the same thing. So it's actually a very big holiday, and everybody will be going back to their hometown. Most people will be going back to their hometown, which can be very far away from here, or whether it could be in another state, and they'll probably be gone for about 3 months. 2, 3 weeks even sometimes, but normally 1 week is quite common. So our 22nd will be hitting exactly on Hari Raya, and that 2 days, Dr. Lee and I will be posting up pre-recorded lecture. So this is so that we don't have classes. Even we have classes, I don't think anybody here will be attending lah. So it's better for us to do pre-recorded. Yes, so having to say that pre-recorded week will be basically gone already. So so essentially I only have this week, next week, and the week after with you all to settle any problems that you have with the assignment as soon as possible. But that does not mean that we are not helping you at all. It's just that I want you to be alert to get things started, so that you have things to show me, especially in week 9, especially 2 weeks from now. At the end of every class from next week onwards, I will be actually doing a little bit of assignment, like project briefing with you. Like if you have any work to show me, yes, you can show me in class, then I can sort of like go through with you your format or your estimated worksheet, whether that is correct or not, or whether that format has any loophole or any bug in it or not. So we want to get it settled down as soon as possible for you all to proceed with the work as fast as you can. Again, like I said, this is something for you to score, not something for you to mark up and do bad. We need you to do good assignments so that you can score as high as possible, and exam time, you don't have to be stressed out because it's a physical exam. And then, or, if let's say, you can even score higher if with some effort in the final exam, you can score already. So I think that is something very important here that we need to sort out. And we can always do an additional project briefing class with you all over the weeknights if you want. Yes, I think that would be a very good idea. I'll be posting up pre-recorded on 22nd. So will Dr. Lee be posting up the pre-recorded on the 22nd. Most lecturers will be posting up in week 11 pre-recorded. So essentially there will be no classes during that week, but you will get all the pre-recorded. But before Raya, I think I will probably set up a night evening 1 hour or 2 hours, 1.5 hours, with every one of you to go through your project. But we need to have more material before you go through. Like I can have a session with you, I can set up a session with you, but if you have nothing to show me, then it's going to be wasting everybody's time, you see. So it's important that you all get started, okay? Then we can discuss about it. Huh? Is that okay with everyone? So maybe the week before Raya, we can have a session. I know the Malays will be doing their buka puasa. You are in your Ramadan month, so you are doing the buka puasa now, around 6 p.m. Okay, around 6 p.m. 6:30 or 7. Is it 6:30 or 7? Sarah Rockins?
Yes, doctor.
What time?
Today 6:50, doctor.
6:50.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Let me look at the timetable. I think we should have an extra class, in case you are like worried about the assignment. So next week we'll have our regular class, which is going to be on the 1st, and then the 8th is going to be physical. Yes, so there will be 2 classes here. And then after that, Dr. Lee will be coming in on the 15th. Hari Raya will be on the 22nd. So I suggest that after the 8th, maybe we can do a night class. Do you prefer before Puasa or after Puasa? I'm thinking maybe on the 18 or 19. I have something on the 19, but I don't know. I don't remember what. I have a master's proposals defense on the 19th, but that is in the morning, so that's not so much of an issue. Or would you guys want to do a lunchtime class? Anyone? Is everyone okay with a lunchtime class? Like most of you are not eating anyway. Huh? Let me see. Only who? Sue, you're not pasar, right, Sue?
No, doctor.
Yeah, so there will be Sue, Grace, and Isabel. Would you be okay will you be okay to do a lunchtime class if you want? If we want, say 12?
Okay.
You're okay, huh? You're not working, right?
Yeah.
And what about Isabel, Grace, and all that?
I'm okay with it, doctor, but I prefer maybe just follow the majority lah.
So you prefer evening class, is it? Grace, are you around, Grace?
Yeah, actually I'm thinking maybe I can make it, but it's okay. Because I will be outstation. Yeah, just follow majority lah, doctor. Yeah.
Okay. So I can put down here now tentatively how you can discuss among yourself again, whether you actually prefer, if it's 6:50, are you guys have to, the people who are doing pasta, do you have to cook and all that? If we don't have to cook and all that, we can always go for a 5 p.m. class. Yeah, and then we finish around 6:15 like that. Or would it be too tiring for you guys? I mean, it's all up to you.
Okay, on any other way, doctor.
Either way is fine, huh? Okay. Yeah, like I said, why don't you guys vote among yourself first? Somebody set up, who's the class monitor here? I'm really okay with any time because it's online anyway, so I don't have to go anyway. So if let's say lunchtime, I will just, sit in the office and have a chat with you all from 12 to maybe 1 something. And then those people who need to go for lunch, then they can go for a quick lunch before they start work at 2 p.m. If you feel like that is a bit too much, too tough, I mean, you can even eat in front of the computer if you want. I mean, like, we wouldn't know, right? So, yeah, I mean, like Grace and Isabel and all that, you can always eat in front of your computer while we're doing the sessions, because that session is mainly for you all to do troubleshooting with your assignment. If you have no questions, you have nothing that you want to ask me, then it defeats the whole purpose. Okay, it defeats the whole purpose. I will not be giving you a class like talk about the knowledge and all that kind of thing. I'll be looking at your work, looking at your tables and your flow of your assignment in order to see if we can make it better. You see, and then for you to score higher, that is the purpose. So that would be what we want to do. So it can be on the 18th, can be on the 19th. I'm fine, but I don't want to make it after 19, because after 19, I'm pretty sure some people will be like very busy with already very busy with preparation for your Raya, you see. Yeah, so we won't want to do that. So I think the latest that we must do will be on the 19th, because if we do it after Raya, it defeats the purpose also, because the assignment handing in date is the 2nd of May. 2nd of May means that after the Raya week, we come back, we have the last class, and then Monday or Tuesday, you have to hand in already. So if we do it too last minute, then it's also wasting time, you see, wasting your time, wasting my time also, because it won't make much of a difference. Yeah, if we have a problem, we cannot capture it as soon as possible. Yeah. So okay, let's say 18, 19, the option will be maybe a 12 p.m. or even 11:30 p.m. 11:30 a.m. Sorry. So 12 will probably be okay, because unless some people are, or even if you can't attend, we can always record it and then you take a look. But the purpose is to look at your assignment. So if your group member is not here and you're not here, then it will be, so sorry, it's like a waste of this chance to make your assignment better. All right. And let's not drag on this anymore. All right. So we get this set up. So by next week, I hope to see something here. I mean, it doesn't have to be a full report. What I mean is that at least you have a project already. You do your work breakdown structure already. Like I said, you can use the same assignment as what Dr. Lee asked you to do. I'm fine with that. But that is an individual assignment. So there's 3 of you or 2 of you in a group. You need to agree on which one that you're using, you see. So, but you can use the same format to do this. And resources analysis, you can use the same format. But this one will probably involve a lot more, you see, compared to scheduling. All right. So again, you can use the same type of estimator worksheet or time estimator worksheet or resources analysis worksheet, you see. So it's okay. But let's take a look at it, on next week, around, after class, we have like maybe half an hour. If you want to show me, yeah, we can go through that. So I don't know if it's too much to expect of you, but try, okay, try. And then of course on the 8th, that is where we have a physical class. I would want to go around, I want to go around the class looking at your assignment, helping you all to brush up and helping you all to make it more presentable or more easier to read or even better looking and all that. So yeah, I mean, that is the purpose. I really want to spend time on assignments, because I believe that as civil engineers, you all have already gone through pretty much, time, cost, quality, these tools, these sort of techniques and all that. You have already gone through that. I really want to see you guys practicing this knowledge rather than just me sitting here talking for 3 hours about what is cost management, what is preliminary cost management, what is how do you draw an estimator worksheet. Those sort of things is like, I think a lot of you who follow me in your undergraduate studies, you've already learned all these things, Maybe some of you forgot all about it already, and they're all giving back already, but sure when I talk about it, you already know, you see, so there's no point. And in other universities as well, I think cost management is a very important part of any civil engineering course degree, you see, so it cannot be something so foreign or so unbelievable, hard or surprise or shock to you, huh? Okay, right. So this let's try to get at least something done by the 8th. Okay, so every week we'll be spending time on assignment, on this particular assignment with you all, right? And on the 18th or 19th, we will take another look at the other components of the assignment to wrap it up. All right. And Grace, would you like to key your QR? Oh yeah, ready. Hey, but yeah. Right, so I'll close this since there's no more. Okay. No more people keying in attendance, huh? Okay, so I think, like I say, time, cost, quality, these three are the most common aspects of any project. This is the part that most project manager, your client, anybody who is actually putting in a lot of money to construct the facilities will be concerned about money. Okay, and you know, every engineering project, every civil engineering project, it takes like hundreds and thousands of dollars and even millions and sometimes even billions to construct, you see. And tell me money is not important. So it is not possible. It is something that is most closely monitored and scrutinized among all project management aspects that you need to work on. Okay, and project managers are highly sort of like monitored, you know, and your success and your reputation, it will also be highly monitored with these particular aspects of the job, you see, of the project. So going through a very simple overview of project management on cost management, I think the most important thing is the very beginning. Remember in scope management, we have what we call a financial viability studies, whereby we study what kind of funding, financial funding that, you know, we have, because the company have before you can decide whether it is a good idea to proceed with the job. Sometimes it is a very good idea, the timing is right, but you don't have money, and what do you do about that? So you actually raise funds from your directors, or you sell more shares, you know, or you know, you can borrow from the banks or other lending institution or government loans or some form of government subsidies and all that. So there's a lot of ways to raise funds, you see. So, but funding is one of the very critical aspects of determining whether the project is financially viable, meaning that you have the money to do it, you see. So that is the first question we have to answer when we talk about money. Then obviously, the project cash flow, the cash flow of the project is also very important, like when you're going to be pumping out a lot of money and when you're going to get the money back, when you're going to have income, and then from the income, will you be able to support back your project funding? And it has to be enough and sufficient and timely funds throughout the entire project life cycle. And a lot of people actually have financial difficulties is because there is some problems with the cash flow, meaning that when there's supposed to be money coming in, they don't have money, so they cannot pay people, they cannot pay the suppliers, or they cannot furnish the interest in the bank for the bank loans that they borrow and all that, and the bank decided to close down on them and stop money lending to them, and the whole company will go bankrupt and all that. So with project that in this kind of environment, with project that is talking about millions and billions of dollars, or tens of hundreds of millions of dollars sometimes, you would want to make sure that the funding is there, the cash flow is clean, and the cash flow is very healthy. You see, and that is a part that we need to know. Not only know, but manage as well. So financial management of the project is very, very important, and that is usually dealing with the funding, and whether there when you're going to have enough money to start the project, but you have enough money to finish the project. And yes, sometimes you have enough money to finish a project, but the timing of the funding coming in can be not right, and that is not good, you know. So you need to manage these aspects of money. And in order to manage these aspects of money, you need to know capital. What is the capital needed? And what do you mean by capital? Capital is actually how much of in order to fund the project, how much would it cost, you see? So cost management is not only to look after the budget, but to actually know in the first place what is the budget needed, or what is the estimates that is needed. And when you have the estimated, sum that is needed as the capital of the project, okay, then we can talk about budget, because estimates is you need to calculate, you know, what kind of components of work, and then from there, what kind of activities, and the activity costs money. So you estimate that this is the amount of money that you need to build the project from zero down to completion and hand over to the client. So if this amount of money is needed, that is the capital needed, it is usually done through the process of estimation. And estimation is like uncertain. There will be always an uncertainty attached to the budget. There is no absolute calculation. Every budget is a relative thing, you know. Relative is, like if we talk about Einstein rule of theory of relativity, actually it applies to everything. Every project, depending on the company running it, depending on the funding for it, depending on the requirement of the client, depending on the capability of the contractor, many aspects of this, or the management skills of the company as well, all this included, the proposed estimates from different people or different company can vary. If there is an absolute answer to every single project and how much it costs, we don't need to have engineers. There will be a dictionary about project, and then in this dictionary of project, you will tell us that this is the project, this is the size of the project, this is what it does, and then this is the estimate. You know, so we don't have that. Nobody has created that before, you see. So we didn't have that. So very much it's project dependent. It depends on the location of the project. It depends on the geographical, logistic, the area, the country, even, and the people running it, the designs, and the many other aspects. Okay, again, you need to look at our system thinking again. You see, so the first day I talked to you, I emphasized, I yak about one whole sessions about system thinking, about that chart, you know, that big square with a few circles inside there. I think some of you did try to attempt that in your bonus questions the other day. And that system thinking is applicable here. And like I say, there is no absolute value to cost. It's all relative. So it's very important to understand it's relative to the stakeholders. It's relative to the company who is going to be using it, building it, wanting it, desiring it. And it also will be relative to the people running the project, managing the project. Because if you do run it in a more clever way, you know, or you have a more systematic way of running a project, you may save a lot of costs, you know. If you have the funding to buy earlier, you may save out on interest, or you may save out on a price hike or price rise in some of the material, and you can reduce the cost. So you see, it's very much dependent on the estimator themselves. So dependent means relative. So you need to understand what is your project nature, what is your project characteristic, who is your project sponsors, who is your project financiers, who is your project team, what is the client requirement, what is the authority requirement, and what is the geographical and sorry, we talk about geographical, we will maybe mention it under constraints. You see, geographical thing you can't change. You know, recently just last week I was dealing with a project in Cebu, and our team, we actually have a team of people going down to do Macintosh prop test. It was about 6 acres land, and we are the consultant team, so we are doing the prop test. And the prop test turned out, the client was telling us that this is a very good piece of land and there shouldn't be any issues on that. And it would not be an issue at all. So you see, the client wanting to, the client has already invested into that piece of land, and they have never done Macintosh, they have never done any soil test before. And it has become a situation that we advise that it's better to just do a test to see, because Cebu is a very famous peat soil area in Sarawak. So we need to be very careful here. So like when we first received the report on every point, suddenly we realized that, it's like there was about 3 to 4 meters layers on the first part of the site that is completely soft soil. It's like peat soft, one hammer blow, it went down 0.5 meter. And then we were like so shocked, and then we called the client and said, look, this is not looking good, So we finished up with 9 points, and the whole site was actually, the first 4 meters is actually all very poor soil. And that is a constraint, you see. Now, so why do we need to know this, you see? If we don't know the geographical location, we don't know the topography, we don't know the soil condition, what is going to be the result? The result will be we just design assuming that, the information from the client is that this is a good piece of land. We shouldn't be doing too much of soil treatment to it. Not much of point doing settlements or etc. etc. Like they are telling us that. So that was the information given to us. So we have to design accordingly. So now that we know this information, my very, very first concern is not the structure, because structure, we do have about, after 4 meters, we do have some good soil that will probably be able to set the piles. So for all the houses, we definitely will have piles. So there is not an issue there. But the main issue is the road drain. Are we going to build, because 4 meters is not going to be, it's quite a lot, We cannot dig out all the soil and put in all new soil and then, build our road on top of that, see? So we spoke to the client and I was telling him, the cost of this is not going to be looking good, you see? And if the councils actually force us to say that, this road here, with this type of conditions of soil, you may have to do a whole suspended slab road. And how much would that cost? There will be piling, concreting, and all that. And the whole area, with any way we road, we need to do that. It's going to highly increase the cost. So cost is a constraint. Geographical location, logistic, all these are constraints. Soil conditions are constrained. Why do I say that they are constrained? Because you cannot change it, you see. Like we engineers cannot pray hard to God and say that, please God, Lord, can you change the soil to something better tomorrow evening? And I turn it to, I put in another Macintosh prop test and then tomorrow everything is fine. It doesn't happen like that, you see. So we have to work on that poor soil condition. And that poor soil condition will be our constraint. It will be a constraint when it comes to dealing with the cost, you see. Time maybe not a big issue. You just have to spend more time because nothing is confirmed yet. We still can drag the project for 3 years, 4 years. We know, you know, it's fine. It's actually very expectant. Like, you know that it is going to be like that, you see. But the problem is cost is going to be so unknown here. Whether you're going to be able to build it, and you know, when you dig out, it's probably not so bad. It can be a surprise, and when you build your road, it will not crack or sink or whatever, then that is good news. But what if it does, and then you do it first, and then if let's say something happen, you need to pick it out and then put in more piling and then start all over again. Are we gonna do that? You see, so there is a lot more unknown there when it comes to money matters. So you've got to make all this unknown into as much information that we can get as early as possible. And that's why I keep on emphasizing on this system thinking. You need to know the project, the geographical location, the topography, the soil conditions, the flora, the fauna, the things on the soil itself. You know, give a good indicator of what is it about this particular site. Where is the location? Is it near town, out of town? Is it in the rural area? Do you have transportation access? Even transportation access, would it be easy for big lorries to go there? Oh, these are all very big issues that, you know, it may look like it's a very small issue, but when you are in construction, suddenly there is no access road to your site. You realize that there is, but it's so small that 5 tons, 10 tons lorry cannot go in, tractors cannot go in. Then how? You see, then we have to emergency build an access road. And when you emergency build an access road, it's going to cost money. So you'll be having a cost overrun because you've never expected that, you've never put in that. So when it comes to cost, project nature, that you need to understand your project very well. And then the second layer about the organization and how the organization, you know, what technical expertise, how open-minded is your client. Are they the type of people that says that if you've already said that it's 5 million to do this, they will not give you any single cent extra, or they are very open to discussions? You need to know, you know, and what capacity the client has, what capacity your company have. And if I'm supposed to design peak soil, can I design a good design? If not, then I'll probably have to at least help from external consultant to come in and see if they can work with us together to support this condition, you see, and that will mean extra money, you see. And you need to get information enough. You need to know what are the authority requirements. And then after we find out the soil condition, we actually go and talk to civil councils. And their information is, one option is to do, you know, one option is to do suspended slab. But interestingly, we only know, you know, in my career span as an engineer, I only know, but this is for civil council. I've never worked with them that well. I mean, I've never worked with them that much before, really. So guess what? They tell us that if we do suspended slab with pilings and, you know, slab surface before we do the road, their answer is, oh yeah, by all means go ahead. But you, consultant, the client, need to guarantee the structure for lifetime. Oh my gosh, you know, it's like I almost fainted when I hear that. It's like, because Cebu, I mean, for people who don't know Cebu, you know, Cebu is a awful area when it comes to soil condition. You know, it's very peat. It's, you know, you have a lot of water. You know, you've got a lot of issues with ground conditions. You know, peat is one of the nightmare of any geotech engineers, you see. So now you guys are learning soft soil engineering. These are the kind of soil that we are looking at in soft soil engineering, you see. So again, you know, knowing your local councils, knowing your authority requirement, see it doesn't affect the cost. Now my client need to think about lifetime maintenance, lifetime guarantee, you see. And they are not going to be finished. It's not going to be handed over to the council and then they wipe their hands off and earn their money and go home, you see. It's not going to be like that. So anytime they have a problem, they will call you and that will be extra cost, you see. And then the other option is to pay a maintenance cost for the road, which is about how many dollars or how many $4 or something like that. I don't remember what is the value. My team call us and tell us about it. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like there is a new. This is not a new. It's just that it's always there. We don't know. See, so it's good we found out at this design stage or this earlier stages we're conceptualizing on the project that we have this information. You see, if we don't have this information and now the project design is done, everything is already confirmed, and the client asks to start work and they will be tendering out and getting contractor to come and build and all that. And that is when we found out, or as we go into construction, we found out about all these problems and all these additional costs involved. How would you as a client feel if this is what your consultant and this is what your team tells you? Instead of 5 million, now they have to put in 7 million right in the middle of construction. They will probably feel like they want to kill you, but they can't, you know, and some of them will be so frustrated because it happens like that. But all this could have been sorted out earlier on in the earlier stages of the project. So don't rush project, don't rush the early preliminary studies of the project. So this part here, I want you to focus on basically, I mean, like all these are very, very fundamental things. You know, what I was talking about, all this what you know, now up until now is part of the notes underneath here. Developing strategies, you see, and then understanding project funding, financing. Okay, these are very theoretical stuff, and understanding resources. Okay, and then we are talking about also project constraints, different type of contracts. There's another part of the notes here. Let me turn it up so that you can take a look. So it's pretty much covering, you know, things like, where is this part of the notes that I'm trying to tell you? Not be so far away. Nah, it's on the first set. Okay, never mind. Okay, it's somewhere. Okay, so yeah, so understanding this project nature, understanding your system thinking. So yeah, you understand that, and then so the second layer, you understand all these things about your constraints, your company ability, resources for the projects, you know, and then you also need to understand the authority requirement. That is the second layer in the system thinking, and then the last outer layer will involve. It will involve things like environment, culture, heritage. You know, you are also talking about legal requirement, legal issues. You see, land issues, legal issues, acts, ordinances, publicities. You know, and general locations of the projects, and yeah, and then the environmental impact and etc. So these are part of the whole picture that you need to set up first, get a gist, because once you've done your scope management, I think you have no issues doing this sort of things. So you see, in your scope management, when you want to come up with the scope, you need to go through all this system thinking. So once you've done all this system thinking, the same thing will be applicable to your costing, you see. And the considerations need to be put in during this stage as well. The main thing is with in the overview, I think what we're trying to tell you is generally cost is about cost planning, cost definition, cost analysis. So it begins way long, you know, this is what we're trying to say. It begins way long before the budget of the project is being established or the project is underway. Meaning that cost management is not about, oh, I have a cost overrun. Yeah, and then there's VO, there's variation. I need to add in more work, you know, I need to get more budget from the client. It's not about that, you know, that is only part and parcel. That is more of cost control. It's not about cost management. When we talk about cost management, it goes way ahead before, you know, all this. It's way before the project even started. And getting a commitment from the sponsors is so important. Yeah. So there are few aspects here before we even get started into planning for a budget estimation, doing all the estimation work. You know, you get ready the earlier stages of things, you know, like you need to understand the project system, okay, with the system thinking format that I've introduced you. And then you also need to understand who is your project stakeholders, who is your project funder, who is your financier, who is your client, what is your client like. So these are pretty much part of that project nature. Within that system thinking, it can be the second layer or the immediate project layer. Who are the stakeholders and all that. It depends on how strongly they are, you know, looking at, I mean, how strongly they are dependent on funding. Some, for example, the company just borrow money from the banks. So even though the banks are the funder, but the banks don't interrupt or intrude into the management of your company, you see. But if so they will belong to the second layer or even the third layer, you know, the financing system. Okay, the financing, maybe the interest rate rising and all that, and what kind of financing they're giving the project and all that, that can be on the third layer. So it's not so close within the project first and second layer. But if the project funding comes from, let's say, the stakeholders, the board of directors and all that, then they will have a lot of opinion and they will have a lot of say in the management of the company. And that will actually affect, you know, the cost more than banker, for example. So right in the middle layer, so those are the financiers, then they will be in the central layer within the organization itself that will affect for project cost making process and also decision making process. Cost making process is like they will have a say. They will say, why do you want to use this material? Why do you want to use this design? So they all have an impact, you know, on the board of directors will have an impact on the final cost, you see. So they are more closely related to the project than you think, you see. So you need to look into that as well. So get it correct. So, and then also the options of whether you want to build it or whether you want to leave it for now, or whether you want to lease the facilities or just go and borrow, you know, like let's say they want to build a HQ, headquarters, you see. Let's say your company is so big, they're going to build a headquarters. And there may be option to actually just lease, you see, like rental, maybe cheaper to rent. You see, many government agency in Malaysia, they will rent from various developers. Why did they build their own? You see, so there must be a reason for that. It's their own financial management that they want to rent rather than borrow, rather than go ahead and build. You see, so before the time starts, before the project actually starts, once you've got your scope, and before you even got the scope, remember when we're talking about getting the scope of work, we are also at that time already considering feasibility studies, already considering financial studies. Remember that? Remember I say that? in the earlier stages, before you even, when you're doing conceptualization of the scope, we have conceptual estimates as well. So you can see that cost is not only when they say that, oh, scope finished already, and now I want to design. Then after design, I calculate the cost. It's not that straightforward procedures. That one is only part of the line, you see. There's many layers here. So earlier on, when you're doing the scope, coming up with the scope of work, whether this scope is doable, not doable, we already talk about finance. We already talk about estimates, you see. And we already at that time also mentioned about life cycle, the maintenance, you see. Not only every project you need to worry about cost management, you need to worry about maintenance. If suddenly the council said that this is going to be lifelong maintenance from the developer, oh, then you'll be in deep shit, you see. So that is not going to be a good picture here. So we need to understand that earlier on, you see. So I hope you guys can get the picture. I think it may be a bit difficult for you to visualize. I hope you can visualize the whole process here. I mean, we go into so deep is because all of you are working already. Most of you are working already. So you can visualize what is happening. You can visualize that in your company, in your organization. Oh, I heard that from my class. You're supposed to do this, but look like we're not doing it. Or is that why, my budget is having a problem all the time, for example? Then you can look into that. See? So it's supposed to be applicable. It's supposed to be using this knowledge more than, you see, our classes are more on how to use this sort of knowledge rather than, cost management is what, it's looking at cost planning, cost definition, cost analysis, cost monitoring, and then what is cost planning? Cost planning is like this, like this, like this. It's the early stage of the project to analyze the budget, to do estimating. We don't talk about things like that, because that is so basic. Yeah, it's about when you can apply your knowledge. So earlier stages, when you're coming up with a scope, when you're saying the scope is okay or not, you already start doing that. When you have a work breakdown structure, that is pretty much saying that design will be starting already. And when design starting already, your cost is going to be parallel. Your estimation will be parallel. Your costing work is parallel. Costing is a technique. Estimate is the product. Okay? So estimation is together with the design. As you design, you do costing. No, you finish design, you do costing. Why? Because value engineering. You are looking at what are the optimal design. Do you need to design your bin so big? Do you need to design a toilet so big? Do you need, before the council tells me that I have to do suspenders, do I really want to go and design suspenders there? I need to think about that. What is the optimum design? If I can get something to do the same job at a less price, why not? So design and costing work, they are supposed to be together. Once you finish designing one component, go through it, check through the different components, run through your value engineering, and then you'll be looking at rerunning your costing worksheet again for that component to see if there's any other options that can make it cheaper with the same type of performance, or to increase the performance, but not going to be increasing any big, huge amount of cost involved. So don't tell me that you can only do design, you can only do design after scope finish. Okay? And don't tell me that you can only do costing work, you can only do scheduling after your design finish. You can do it at the same time. Okay, you can do it at the same time. It's parallel to one another. If we don't change our mentality, honestly, our industry will not go very far. This is as far as it will get. If it's too difficult for you guys to do this, too difficult, you're too lazy, too difficult, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources in your company to do all this, you're already in charge of 20 projects. Like yesterday, I was having a class with my Masters of Engineering Management. They're telling me, doctor, one person has to run 20 projects. I'm already overstretched. I really don't have time to estimate the extension of time. So if we are going to continue doing this, one day there will not be engineers anymore. If one day artificial intelligence can be so smart, they can do design, they can do at the same time, they can do design and they can do your value engineering. What is the use of engineers anymore? Huh? So if robots can do it, if AI can do it, if ChatGPT can do it, what's going to happen? You'll be out of your job very soon. Okay? No one would need it. No one would need engineers anymore. Okay? So you must understand that many of these things are actually human factor inside there. So you cannot let AI take over. So if you say you can't do it, and then the only thing is one day the company will say that let's get a good AI to do all this. And when they get a good AI to do all this, and then they realize that they can do it, then you cannot do it and you're not needed anymore. So when you say no, I can't do it, I don't have time to do it, and etc., one day you are no longer needed because you just can't do it. Okay? So this is something that we all have to be very careful of. We are one of the oldest professions in this world, so must maintain. We must maintain our professionalism. Otherwise, one day we'll be taken over. Yeah. So budgeting, costing, start earlier. When you are doing your conceptual study, you need to do your conceptual budgeting. Then when it comes to your design together, we do at the same time budgeting as well. Okay, let's not use the word budgeting. I want to be very clear with the word that I use. When you're doing conceptual design, you do your conceptual estimates, okay? Because nothing is certain. Yeah, it's still question mark. There's still 20, 30%, or even 40, 50% chance of error at that point. When you're doing design, you work on value engineering, you look into life cycle costing, you look into finance, budgeting and all that, you will be looking at the same time. This is considered as what we call you can have a preliminary estimates at that time, or you can have definitive estimates at that time. So it's not a detailed estimates yet. The detailed estimates can only be fully done on the contractor side, meaning that the builder, when they want to quote you on the services of material, label, machineries, then they will actually quote you accordingly, and that will be the detailed estimates. But normally from the client side, from the designer side, we always do definitive estimates and incorporate at that point in time, at the same time, value engineering. So what I highlight as black here, so cost management begins long before budget for the project is established. It's not during the construction. So there is much more to just cost control. There's not much more to just sitting in the meeting telling everybody that the budget is out of, is overrun. Okay. You need to do estimates, you need to do considerations, you need to understand the concerns of the project. So at the same time, when you're doing your scope of work, you are working on costs already. You're working on your cost estimates already. It's just a matter of how deep, how much information you have, and what sort of technique that you use, because at the earlier stages, you may have to use a more general estimates. And then up until when you're actually designing it and doing value engineering, you may need to actually do more of a definitive estimates, which will go into some calculation of different components and all that, and it will get deeper. Okay, so it's before you even do the budget, you see. Then after that, you also will be after the project being committed by the sponsor. So budget is not only, one apply one time to have the budget before the project starts. It's not about that only. It's not about not budget overrun. We always say cost overrun is where we don't meet the budget requirement. We went over the budget. But you have to know that anytime the client gives us a yes, proceed, you already have a budget. So meaning that when you do your conceptual studies, when you are doing your concept of scope of the components of your scope statement and your scope definition, you do a conceptual study. And when you do a conceptual study, you do a conceptual estimate. And that could be an analogy estimates, that could be an all-out rate or parametric estimates, just to get an overall feel about how much the project will cost. That is an estimate. So when the client listens to your estimates and say, okay, so roughly this is going to be the estimates. Okay, so this project will be talking about, say, 60 million. So yeah, I think we can further explore. See? So when they say you further explore, it's already like a first layer budget already. So you'll be working along that 60 million line. Even though later on, when you're doing actual design or when the actual final thing comes up, it's more than 60 million or under 60 million, it's okay. But that some form is already a yes from the client. In a way, it's also a budget. So we don't want to say that it's not a budget, because a budget is an approval of the estimates from the client. So even though this is a very preliminary conceptual kind of yes from the client, they still have not decided to pump in money or not, but they've asked you to go ahead. Means that is already a budget, all right? But it's not a confirmed budget yet. Then when you're doing, you've come up with your work activities, you've come up with the project components, your work activity, you've done all your feasibility studies, financial viability, you know that where the money is going to come from, you do your project nature studies, it's all at the same time. The earlier stages, those information will be taken down, using it. Earlier stage, when we do our project system thinking with the project nature characteristic, with the different layers of the circles, with the big, component, those are things that is done already. So those information, you'll be repulling it down for your cost estimation later on as well. You're not going to be purposely going out doing another project environment study. In the assignment, you see that I put down the contract procurement, a system thinking. But it's exactly what you need to do before you even have to do your budget. Then or not? Or am I being too descriptive to a point that, or is it a Sunday afternoon that I feel like I'm losing you guys? Yeah, everybody's still okay? Anything that you want me to further explain up until now? The usage of cost, you see, I want to get that right, I don't have wrong assumption. This stage, especially a master stage. In the undergraduate studies, we talk to you about budget, estimates, just do it. This is the technique. Go ahead, use it. So you guys are going to be graduating as a junior engineer who you'll be trained in your organization for something further. Yeah. But with masters, most of you has already got like 3, 2, 1 year even working experience. You already know what an engineering organization looks like, and you already know what is in your company. And people like Mas Han and Grace, you all are starting to be quite senior, not so senior lah, but middle senior already, So you know what it is like, when we talk about budget, yeah, and estimates. So when we're going to use what, you see? So you've got to get that right first, set that project environment right first, and then from there, you do your scope management. And from the scope management, you think about time, you think about cost. It's parallel, it's integration. This is not a one stretch line, cost management. Dr. Ting come here and talk about cost management today, and then that's it, finished. Then you don't know how to integrate that with the other components of project management. It's actually at the same time. And when you talk about procurement will come in as well. It's all integration part. Yeah. So you see a lot of this parallel line. Imagine parallel universe. You've got a few universe going on. Cost management is one universe. Procurement is one universe, and all these universe will overlap with one another to make you where you are, reality where you are today. You see, so yeah, so it's not really an imaginary thing. Imagine that, try to imagine that. So there's a few parallel lines going on at the same time, yeah, and they will all overlap, okay, to present the real scenario for a project. And you've got to manage it all at the same time. Nobody is going to tell you as a project manager that, oh, today I only manage cost, or tomorrow I only manage time. Yeah, I only have this. You most of the time you have problem coming in, it will be time, cost, quality, everything all at the same time. And you need to know how to look at all these problems and how to break it apart and know which is the root of the problem and you solve it before you get into too much of a mess, before it boils into a big pot of curry that you don't even recognize where's the chicken, where's the potato, and where's the curry paste, you see. So we need to know every part, but then you need to know how to combine them as well. Yeah, because it's actually one whole pot, you see, one whole project that we're looking at. So yes, you do that, earlier on project. So as you move along, like I say, conceptual, when the client say, okay, go ahead. And then when you do robustness tests and we do options and all that, you also will be presenting some form of cost calculation. We also will be providing some form of estimate. And when the client choose that particular option, that means they will be agreeing to that particular options estimates. And that is also a budget. So your budget is the same budget for the same project, ladies and gentlemen. It's not like, oh, I've got budget A, budget B, budget C, budget D. It's the same project budget. It's just the detail of the budget will get more and more. It's just like scope management. As you get more and more detail about your scope, then you get more and more idea about the whole facilities that you're building. And then when you actually move into work activity, work breakdown, and all that, you start to form the whole working process of how you're going to deliver the project. Then it's more detailed. Then your scope management get more detailed, isn't it? So your budget will also get more detailed with more information that is available. So understand all these things. You have to get all these things earlier stages. Defining the project cost is very important. So once you define that and then the client agree to it, so when you do that stage of work breakdown, you come up with your activity, you can come up with a more detailed budget, or sorry, not budget, you come up with a more detailed estimates. And then once the client says that, okay, we will proceed with the design, so they will commit into the project and process. Please go ahead with they buy the land and decide. They'll tell you that, okay, let's get started. We will proceed with the design, with the planning, with the submission to SPA, the planning authority, or submission to let's say JKR or whatever, the public work departments, and yeah, we get project rolling. And at that time, also your budget will get more and more detailed. So it's like you have a big, huge rock, and now smaller and smaller. You shave off a lot of things, and then you come to see that, oh, this is a sculpture. You see, so it's like you start to see the whole picture clearer and clearer and clearer as you move into the different stages of the project. So once you've come to the part that you're doing the design, like I say, do value engineering together. Do value engineering is very important. You need to find how to optimize your design. This is the best time to do design optimization during the design stage. It's not after the design and then you go and sit down and say, okay, let's do value engineering. It's very difficult. You would not have that discipline. You would not have that determination to carry out value engineering if you've already finished the whole design. Normally, it takes a long time to do a design work, like maybe a month or two with a team of 4 or 5 people, depending on the complexity of the project. By the time you finish the project, you just want to go on a holiday already. You want to sit down and look at every component again and see if we can reduce certain component or add on certain things to make it better performance or get better value for money. Who is going to really care, at that time? You see, so it will just makes it, you will just slack off in that sense. So it's better if we can go at the same time parallel. While you're doing the design, you're also thinking about the cost component and then thinking about value engineering at the same time. Performance, design, performance. Design is about performance. You're going to build a structure that's supposed to be performing something like that. You're going to build a bridge that is supposed to be like this, the performance. You're supposed to build a road that is supposed to do things like this, and do carry how many cars, how many tons of lorries, that kind of thing. So those are the performance, the what you want out of it. And then basically the cost attached to it, it will be the value, you see. So cost play a very important part. It's the 50% part of value engineering. That 50%, the other 50% is the performance percentage, right? So yes, so it started way before that, and then once you finish your design, you have a very definitive estimates. You will see that this is the very optimized design, and this is the estimate that you have. But it is not a confirmed thing yet, because from the designer perspective, you are not going to be the one building it. So the contractor, now the client will find their own contractor, or they have their own team of people to build the project. Then from there, the contractor side will provide you with a very good detailed estimate. They have to, because if they don't provide you with a detailed estimates, it will actually means that if anytime they miscalculated or they missed out on anything, is a life and death of a contractor's firm, a builder's firm. A builder's firm, very much the lifeline is good budgeting, good estimating. So if they don't come up with a good estimate, number one, they were lost in tender. They will not get the job. Yeah. And when they get the job, it must be doable. If it's not doable, okay, if it's not doable, it will be disastrous. Meaning that, not what do I mean by not doable? Oh, they didn't calculate certain parts. They didn't include that in the estimates. And then when they commit into a contract with the client already, it's too late to pull out, and they have to finish everything, and they may be making losses and all that. Making losses is still very minor. What if it end up to be a very big loss that they cannot recover? That will mean bankruptcy and losing a lot of money, and losing confidence with your client, losing confidence with your board of directors and all that. It can be the consequences can be very disastrous in that sense. So we want to make sure that for the time before the sponsors, meaning that time before the client actually agree. So it starts before and after. Okay, so before is that. After is when you already calculate the contractor come up with the estimates already, and then the client confirm that I will award this job to this particular contractor or this particular builder. That will be the budget. That will be the budget. It's the same budget that you see in conceptual. It's the same budget that you see after feasibility studies. It's the same budget that you do during the preliminary design, during the design stage, during the value engineering. And all this is it's the same thing. But the moment it is being confirmed by the client or the project sponsor, okay, use the word client. Otherwise, you all will be like confused. Then that will be the final thing. That will be the budget that you need to look after. And many people think that is the start. That is the start of cost management. It is not. So earlier on, there are many steps that you need to do, many things that you need to do before you can come to this stage of determining the final budget. Okay. So yeah, this part of the note is basically giving you that sort of overview on how you should actually build up your estimates towards becoming a budget. Okay. And this second part of the notes here, I think it basically explains about having a proper perception towards cost, meaning that it's not only about it's pre-commitment and post-commitment. You see this, so it's what I've been talking about. It's the whole picture, and then developing corporate strategies about cost management. Okay, and this is the part that we mentioned also about constraints, internal, external constraints, and human resources, funding, organization, maturity, expertise, and all that. Exactly what I've spoke about just now on the system thinking, and Yes, actually, it's supposed to be a lot earlier, lah, huh? But yeah, we put it in the note as well. So let's take a look. I'm not sure whether I should rearrange the notes a little bit, because sometimes I feel like, if we already mentioned in class, and then when you read the notes, you're supposed to have come to understand it together with what I've spoken about. So if I give you like everything from really point A, B, B, C, C, D, D, like every single little thing to that kind of extent, to that kind of detail, I'm not sure whether you're learning or you're actually just simply memorizing, you see. So I think it's not good like that way, huh? So yeah, I mean, it's here. We're talking about a corporate strategy towards cost approach, cost management. Yeah, we're handling internal, external. This is the system thinking that we're talking about. Can I highlight this, really, really highlight this or something like that, so that you all can get the feel of what I think this is the most important element here, you see. Yeah, I want to highlight it. And this is that system thinking. But we don't do it, we don't do it we don't do it like in the middle of the project. This has to be as early as possible. In fact, when you are thinking about your scope, this is already being studied, you see. So when we highlight this system thinking, this project, that square, that rectangle that we draw, and then with the little circles inside there, with the first project, with the first layer, second layer, remember that thing? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, remember that thing? Yeah, it's in the week 1 notes. Is also in the scope management notes, whereby I drew some, big box with the circles inside there. Yeah, this is that thing, you see. So, and again, there is this reminder that, it's at different stages of the project we talk about money. It's not only when the project is being committed already, then you talk about money. It's not like that. So as early as conceptual planning development, we already talk about that, and VE comes into the earlier stage, especially in the development. Development. This is where you talk about VE as well. You see, this is where you talk about LCC as well, life cycle costing as well, because when life cycle costing is even earlier, I would say, especially in feasibility studies, in option studies, we want to talk about life cycle costing is because we're doing engineering economics anyway at that point in time. So why not also include future operation and maintenance costs within your calculation, and recovery costs and replacement costs and all that? It's the same thing. It's part of engineering economics. So when you do that, it saves you some work as well later on, when you need to sit down and do an actual LCC. Many of us assume that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's actually a lot of work that can be done at the same time, and it can be used for different purposes, you see. So don't be so strict and don't close up yourself thinking that, for LCC, I need to do a separate study for LCC. No, when you're doing your feasibility studies, when you're doing your option studies, this is the time that you can do your LCC, especially feasibility studies. When you're doing your feasibility studies and also your option studies, aren't you like doing your engineering economics? What is the contribution? How many years to build it? The net present value, the profitability index. We're dealing with the I thing, yeah, the interest and all that. Same thing, you'll be doing it for your operation costs and your maintenance costs. And they are all part and parcel of it. You just have to bring it back to today's dollar and calculate together for your net present value, so that you get a real picture about what is the cost that is going to be involved in the operation and maintenance. Those costs are usually annual costs. So this annual cost, convert that into a present value. And when you convert that into a present value, you bring it back to today's dollar. You can do net present value with the capital, with the operation, with the maintenance, and then with the replacement. So it's not a whole stretch. So you do that at that one time, your option studies, you already finished for the whole LCC. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Or you say that, maybe option study a bit too early for me to study this, but option studies, one of the biggest considerations is also maintenance. If you're not concerned about maintenance, then that means councils and other authority will be concerned about maintenance. So you're saying that because they are concerned about, they are the one concerned with maintenance, my job as a developer is to sell the house and that's it, I'm done. Not like that. But some facilities, like for example, road, JKR built the road, they have to maintain it. Yeah. They built a building, they have to maintain it. So you sometimes we outsource for people to maintain, but outsource to maintenance. For it. The facilities will pay for it. Isn't it the authority who builds it? They will have to maintain it. You talk about JPUB, our rural water supply authorities, they build high level water tank, they build pipeline. In the end, they have to maintain it. So if you don't look into option studies, depending on some option studies, maybe the maintenance is not so important. But in feasibility studies, you need to worry about the maintenance as well, about the operation and maintenance cost. Because if it can be very cheap, but it's going to take you like every few months broke down one time. Do you want that? Yeah, it's just like you spend $5,000 to buy a car, but every 3 weeks you need to go to the mechanics. Something will break. That kind of logic. So you want to pay more now or pay more later? Or can you have an option that you pay everything less? Now less, now cheap, then also cheap. Got also one. It just takes brain and creativity to think about it, correct enough. Yeah, so you think about this sort of things already at this stage of the project. So don't leave it too late. So in the development stage, when you're doing preliminary, just think about VEs, you see? Yeah. And all this will affect procurement as well, which I will talk about next week, you see. Yeah, it's about finding the right contractors, putting up the right documentation, having the right technique to find the right person to work for you to get this project done, you see. So procurement is a very big portion of project management as well, because it delivers the project. Yeah. So you develop that strategies, and then this funding thing, actually this is a bit already spoken about this. Okay, sources of funding, yeah, equity, borrowing, retained profits, and all that. This is all the earlier things that I've spoken about this in scope management, isn't it? I think it's the same thing, yeah. So I no need to go through this anymore. Life cycle, which I've already given you guys a very big pre-recorded on life cycle. Okay, so that's value, cost, and all that. Okay, so then the next thing is when you are doing detailed cost estimates, you need to think about your project resources. Okay, what sort of level of resources you have. That will actually mean things like the designers, what type of procurement technique you have. This one I will cover more on in the procurement stage. Okay. And then the second part of the notes here, we are moving into very hardcore detailed design, different type of techniques and all that. Defining that cost, project cost with WBS. Okay. So yeah, different type of costs. I've already went through that with you as well. I mean, no, sorry, I haven't went through that with you. I keep on thinking about, because I teach so many project management classes, sometimes I forget where I am. I'm so sorry. I have been, talking about project management last semesters with my MSc EM. I've talked about project management with my final year students, and now this year I've been talking about, so my brain is just totally geared towards that. I've done it with you, but actually I've not. Okay, but I think all of you know about this because most of you have sat through project management with me. And I think many of you are my ex-students, so you've probably seen this before. And even if you're not, like I say, you are probably from other universities who actually will tell you these sort of things as well, I hope. Yeah. And so when we talk about estimates, there's different type of estimates that can be used for different type of purposes. Okay. And order of magnitude is basically a ballpark estimates. Ballpark estimates is just like, give you an estimate, I've got 50 houses, how much would it cost? So you usually use a comparison with external project or other projects that is done in a similar area, or analogy, conceptual. These are in the conceptual studies, and you sometimes will actually just use like a analogy, meaning that other project is 60 houses, your project is 100 houses, other project is 5 kilometers, your project is 6 kilometers of road, 2 lanes road, 2 lanes road. So it's a very quick calculation on, it's a very quick calculations. There's a formula given here. I have a formula given here at the back, yeah, on analogy estimates. Okay, so it's basically, is this the analogy estimates? What is parametric estimates? The analogy estimates? Yeah, analogy estimates is just like the cost that you have for your project, and then this is the cost in other project, and then you have an index, meaning that if it's houses, number of houses, then you have number of houses. So we will usually also factor it with 2/3. Yeah, there will be a 2/3 factor here that I think is missed out on the calculation to the power of 2/3. Yeah. So you calculate that, and then you actually factor that. That will be your calculation for your analogy estimate. So it's a very fast, quick gauge on ballpark. Ballpark meaning that roughly, this is the area, or this is the numbers, or this is the length, or this is the total this is the total amount of work that is done. So cost 1, I would say, cost 2, like I say, it would be your project, the current project. That you are finding out on the estimates calculation. Then we will, using this is doing conceptual studies. It's going to be very fast, very quick. And this is the time the client will say, okay, I think you can proceed with the calculation. You can proceed with more detailed kind of design, or more to further studies the option maybe. So once you move into option studies, this also can be applicable as well. You may have 2 or 3 options, and in each of the options, you can use this sort of ballpark estimates to calculate whether it's worth it or not for the project to move. Is it too much money or too much expected? Sometimes the client may have already tell you that I've got like 13 million and I want to use that money. So they already have an estimate. So when you do your option studies, when the numbers come out to be a lot more than the than your client's budget, then you may want to get rid of that option. So that is one way of studying options as well. That is already way over, the idea is already way over the client's budget. But of course, you will still present them. Maybe they like the idea better and they can raise more money for that. It's not for you to write out that option. So you present what is the best options. So once you've done the option studies or yes or no test, this can be used as a robustness test for yes or no. This can be used during the option studies for them to pick the option. Okay, so after you pick the option, you do your feasibility studies. Okay, and your feasibility studies can also include engineering economics studies. And this is the part that we need to know whether the benefit and the cost of it, which one is better. And we also will do other CEA studies as well to see whether it's worth it or not, whether the benefit actually exceeds the cost. Again, what I'm saying is not only applicable to, it's actually applicable to everything, but it may not applicable to some project. If it's like, let's say, private project, some things are not applicable. If it's a infrastructure project by government, some things are not applicable. So you need to know which is the part that is overall the process is like this. I'm telling you the overall process, but you need to cut out some or add in some. It depends on the type of project that you're looking at. Again, it's relative, you see. again, we remember our Mr. Einstein, who has tell us that, you know, this world is about relativity. So again, project management, cost management is about relativity as well. Okay. And yeah, so you've done some projects, you may need to do during option studies, you've already do your feasibilities, or you may do your feasibility first before you do option studies, also is possible. There may be people who choose the option first and then they do the feasibilities, and in the feasibility studies, they also run not only risk management, they also run things like LCC, yeah, and all that. And do LCC, do financial viability studies. They also do economic studies. They also do finance, cost effectiveness analysis, talking about non-monetary value, benefit and cost from a non-monetary, non-dollars and cents sort of like a value. No value, but they measure it in other form of index, okay? Can be happiness, can be health, can be education, can be lifestyles, etc. So once you've done that study, okay, we will move into we can move into confirming on whether we're going to go ahead with the project and further develop the project, meaning that confirming on that and maybe starting to do a preliminary design even. And sometimes some client, if they're sure already at the stage, then they will skip preliminary design and go straight to final design. Some client, let's say for some reason, they want to see a preliminary design, and then we will do another estimates, and that will be a parametric estimate. Parametric is whereby after normally we do parametric estimates after we do this technique. This is the technique basically. This costing technique of parametric estimates and expert opinion is actually just a phone call kind of thing. Like, oh, hi, you know, like you call me up and say, Dr. Ting, how much do you think it will cost me to build like this much? So these are very subjective sort of estimates, you know, like it's just the idea. We normally don't take into, you don't sue people because people give you some subjective or expert opinion kind of estimates, you know, we don't do that. So, but when it comes to more professional kind of estimates, we'll be doing analogy estimates, comparative estimates. These are the one that I'm talking about. And then parametric estimates is whereby we do it, the preliminary design. Some projects have preliminary design. So you need to do a parametric estimate to get a better shape of the cost. Then you can also use what we call an all-up rate as well. Okay. So parametric estimates is this one here. It's actually similar formula, but just that you have different parameters. You've got parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3. So in a project, just now one is whole project 1 index. This one is project, you break it down into various parameters. For example, water, structure, but we don't go into detail for each and every one of the parameter. So we call that a parametric estimate. So when you have parametric estimates, you usually use it doing preliminary design. And especially it can be also very helpful to use it during VE as well, because at that stage, maybe your design is not so complete. You may want to change parts. You still can use parametric to actually help with VE studies, you see. So you just get a cost, get an idea, and then you adjust the design and then go back again and recalculate. So you don't want to have too complicated formulas or too complicated tables to work on, just to get 1 or 2 components out that is better value, you see. So we normally don't want to be putting on so much effort. We also don't agree as a project management academic, we always feel like if we can give people a simpler options or faster way of calculating, it will always be more usable compared to a very complicated or very difficult way of calculating. People will not want to use it. So in my research, I also want to do a lot of things that is dealing with a simple calculation, simple formulation of cost, time, quality, and all that, so that our users, our industry player can actually use it quite readily. You see, we don't want them to have to sit down in front of Excel for 5 hours just to come up with a table, and then after they calculate, and then later on they need to change a lot of things again, and it can be very tedious. It can be very difficult to get it right as well. So we try to get a simple formula to do the calculation first. And then once you confirm on the components already, then you do a detailed one. And when you do a detailed one for design purposes, we normally do a definitive estimates, which we will definitely use what we call O-up rate. O-up rate means that in that one rate itself, you have everything inclusive. So to do this project, to build a pipeline, labor, machinery, material, how much altogether, you get a O-up number, like 1,500, one set of pillar hydrant, 5,000. So of course, you don't cook the figure out from the air. It usually would be some form of experience or some form of component studies before you put in the O-up rate. But O-up rate is faster than a final design, a final detailed estimate. That one is very, very detailed. So sometimes people use O-up rate for VE, sometimes people use parametric for VE. I have no objection to either. Preliminary design, most people would, some people use O-up rate. I also would use O-up rate. I mean, I would tell my students to use O-up rate, especially if you've been working for many years already, you have many O-up rates under your table, so you can pluck it out and use it for your even preliminary design. That's fine. It's actually more accurate than a parametric estimate. So it's actually better to use an O-up rate, okay? And like I said, final detailed design, because it's usually done by consultant to give an idea of how much it costs for the project to be constructed. So they don't know how the contractor will arrange their work, their resources, how much resources they will put in and all that. So they will have no choice but put up an O-up rate, okay? So yeah, but you need to tell us how you build up the O-up rate if you're using your O-up rate. You see, you cannot just go to any JKR or CIDB and get the rate and then plus together, and then come up with the O-up rate. There's hardly information like a table or a schedule or something on the O-up rate. It has to be worked out by the engineers themselves, relative again to the project they are running, relative again to the client that they are serving as well. So that is O-up rate. Any questions so far? Everybody's so quiet. Somehow I believe that you all have gone, and gone away and watched a drama or something, have you?
Still here, Doctor.
Still here.
Same also, Doctor.
Yeah, same also. Still around, not falling asleep, or almost falling asleep, because you guys are so quiet. I am going to fall asleep very soon. I can feel my eyes closing and myself talking softer and softer. So you've got to give me some chatting. If you're not chatting me up, I can be also very bored here. Especially with online classes. Any questions that you want to ask?
So far, no, Doctor.
So far, no. What about the rest? People who have, who are in the industry at the moment working? Do you have any things you want to share with us?
Doctor, I have one question, Doctor.
Yeah, I can.
So this one is based on my previous experience, and I had encountered this problem when I jaga this one project, and masa buat project tu kan, while waiting for the client to approve our claim, and then we have to pay also our subcontractor their own claim so that they can continue the work. But at the same time, we don't have income since since the client haven't approved our claim yet. So how do we need to based on your experience lah, doctor, what is your suggestion if in the future we need to tackle this issue? Because if we didn't pay them, they don't want to work, but we still need to kejar the progress as well.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay. Your question is actually a very much of a combination of contractual questions with work progress kind of issues, and also cost control kind of issues lah, huh? Okay, it is kind of expected that for all engineering project, the client will always is this is not relative to any client. This is a rule, okay, for any. I'm not sure about rest other parts of the world, but in Malaysia, it looks like clients have a tendency of delay payments. Okay, they will never properly follow the contract to actually pay according to the time, you know, and assess according to the time that is being allocated within the contract. And it's a very sad thing. Okay, it happens with private. It also happens with government. And definitely, I can tell you that I have enough of data to tell you that we have surveyed about 180 over consultants, you know, in Kuching, and I mean in Sarawak itself, and even Sabah. And we also have surveyed about 100 and I forgot how much, but it's probably around 120 to 150 or 60 contractors in this part of the world, and all of them has issue with late payment. Okay, and late payment, you have to. It's almost like a culture, huh? You understand, Isabel? It's almost like a culture in this part of the world, okay? Because we don't respect contract very much, and we don't refer to contract very much as well. Actually, supposed to be, if you have a contract documents, the right behavior would be to actually submit your payment claim on time, and then after that, submit a correct payment claim according to the correct format that is required. And then the engineers or SO of the job has about 14 days or so to actually assess the claim. And then after that, it goes to the client. The client has 30 days to pay. And not only the assessment is by the consultant or the designer or the engineers or the architect. Usually when they come up with the payment certificate, the contractor needs to verify that this is the money that they agree to want to be paid. Okay, it may be less than what you expected, but after the assessment, if that is given, if you're not happy with the assessments, they can estimate again. You know, they have to reassess. You have to provide more documents and all that, and that will also delay your payment. And so most of the time, contractor will just go ahead and sign whatever payment certificate that is being given, issued by the engineers who assess, because they do not want them to go through the time again to assess the claim again, another 14 days, because that will delay even further the payment. Okay. And then after that, the claim goes to, the certificate goes to the client has 30 days to pay. Most contract will say 30 days to pay. And you tell me which contractor received the money after payment certificates after 30 days. I have not really in my career, in my whole entire life up until now, actually have a good timely payment as a contractor from the client. Okay, Isabel? So
yeah,
if you want to go from the contractor perspective to fight with the client, you can only do that later, a lot later. Okay. So what contractual rights do you have? you can continue to ask for the payment. You have to call them and check where are the things. These are very physical things that we can do. And obviously, you know, I know some contractor companies, they have very professional money chaser. Even, you know, like some engineers, they are all the time are spent chasing claims, you see. I'm not sure if you have that experience. So our job as engineers has been about chasing money as well. That is one very big part of your job. The boss will ask you, belum dapat payment lagi ah?
Agreed.
Tak issue yet ah? Hey, they so like go and call them. So you go to their office, you go to their, you know, you go and wait for their officers, you know, where is my check? When are you going to pay me? You know, I mean, it's very sad. Okay, so it is an ethical, first and foremost, it's an ethical issue. Okay, meaning that people are not professional about things. And that kind of practice has been continuous. Okay, and because most contractor has been very kind, they just keep quiet because they don't want to disturb the relationship between the client and themselves. So they bear with it, you know, they keep quiet, and then they find other means to, you know, be nice and chase payment and all that lah. Unfortunately, that doesn't make people kinder to you. You see, that makes them more used to the fact that it's okay. They think that it's okay to treat you like that. You see, it's okay to abuse you like that. You see, it's an abuse. Okay, I always tell my students, you know, especially young engineers, you need to certify payment, you certify payment. You need to come out with payment, you pay people, not you pay. You know, your account side, you need to have that ethics of paying people. I know there are a lot of very good contractors, and there are some very good clients also. They do pay people on time, but the portion of them are very low. I know some good contractors that actually call out people and say that, you know, hey, your payment is ready, you know, come and pick up your payment. Or I mean, like, we love people like that. See? So we will tell, you know, I would readily give discount to people like that. I mean, as an engineer who are in, like, let's say I'm a designer, I'm being engaged by a company. If I know this company has very good reputation in paying their engineers, the claim go over in 2 days, in 5 days or in 2 weeks, they pay me, I will give them a big discount. Definitely give them a big discount because I want their business. I want to keep clients like that. But unfortunately, I will tell you about 80%. This is the figure that I have from the research that was done about that finished 2 years ago, but we presented the result in 2002. It was completely late payment is like a norm. Okay, so ethically, there are people who just don't have that ethics, you see, to do the right thing, and they are not afraid of contract simply because nobody ever bothers suing them for it, you see. So I mean, there are some people who got sued, but the amount is very little, you see. I mean, the numbers of people who get sued are very low, you know, so nobody are get scared. Everybody are scared of JKR, you know, they're scared of DID, they're scared of government authority. So they're very easygoing with them. Okay. And obviously some of them the issues come from SS, you know, State Financial Secretary, yeah. And the money sometimes is stuck over there because the funniest the issues that I've heard of, which actually what it happens yesterday is about this as well. It's about time, yeah, but it's not about money. But the same thing applies to money. My student asked me, doctor, I've got contract that already kickstart meeting tapi contract belum sign lagi.
Yeah. I ever encountered that one also.
Contract belum sign lagi. And then she asked me, is this contract valid? Can we start the date like that? The answer is no. You cannot start the contract. You cannot start a contract without signing. You start a contract and there's no contract at all. So it's the risk that you because you don't sign, and then you go and do the job. It's a risk that you take. Okay? And then the issues will go to money. So once you start the job, okay, once you start the job, basically you are when you ask for money, they say that SFS cannot issue the money yet because there's no contract. They haven't received the contract document from JKR or from certain government agency. So then you tell me your payment don't get delayed. My question is, why you want to start a job? Okay, so if you start a job, you must know your contract rights. Your contract right is if you decided to take the risk and start the job before even the signing of the contract, then you should be prepared to not have payment until the contract is signed. Am I right or not?
Yeah.
You have to pay the price for your own action. No? So you can refuse to order your material, you can refuse to do the job until they sign the contract. What can they do? Yeah. Don't bullshit you, because they will tell you that the contract date start already. The letter of award given to you already, the contract start already. The contract date is written there. But you tell them that no signing means that you have to write in and tell them that. Do it professionally, write a letter and say that the contract is not signed. And then no matter whatever reason there is to sign the contract, that they cannot sign the contract or they don't have the contract ready, there's still valuation pending or whatever. They ask you start job, you write to them and you tell them that we are waiting for the contract documents to be ready. That's all. Your proof. Later on, you want to ask for EOT, you want to ask for losses, or you want to decide that they late pay you, you want to not do you want to slow down the job or whatever. You have all the proof there. So you must be prepared for all these. You must be prepared in all these steps. So contractually, that is the way that you can look after yourself. And your question is basically in the middle, as you go along, they're not paying you. Okay. Obviously, the first thing is you have to find out why they're not paying you. So I don't always say that, you have to use a harsh way, go and write a letter and say that you're not paying me, I'll waste my money, and if you're not paying me, I'm going to stop work, You cannot do that. Non-payment will never constitute the reason for you to stop work until that there is a proper dispute coming out, already into a dispute stage that you can stop work. Normally, if you stop work because of late payment, and then later on they pay you and you cannot pick up, you will have a difficulty in terms of the contract clauses that say that you have not worked diligently. So no EOT will be granted, and they may get you back at the end of the day with LAD. So your question is a very contract question. And what can you do? So when you say, okay, doctor, let's not talk about contract, because my boss are not into contract sometimes. So what can you do? And I can tell you that if you know there is such a client, your tender price cannot be too low. You have to prepare your own financial situation. It's just exactly like what I tell you. The risk that you are taking when you're not signing a contract and start to mobilize the site. It only takes COVID 3 months to go to all the parts of the world. So if you don't get a contract and you start to do a job, what if they don't give it to you at the end of the day? Even with a letter of award, it's only a quasi-contract. Yes, you can claim for losses with that letter of award, but why? Why do you want to start work? Why are you so scared? You should keep enough we should write letters and tell them that I need the contract to start work. I need to, you need to serve them, you need to bomb them, you need to throw the ball back at the client. Don't start. And then when you don't receive payment within a certain date, write to them, bomb them with the letter, throw it back to them. Because if you don't give them enough of warning, later on you want to build up the case to go for a dispute, or to stop work, whatever, you don't have a case. So you have to be very diligent in your communication with the client side. And the question is, the thing, your other part of the question is a subcontractor. Well, that I ask you again, do you want to have a good reputation in the business world, in the construction business world, or not? If you want yourself, your company to have a good reputation in the construction business world, whatever your subcontractor do, whatever your supplier do for you, you have to pay them, regardless of whether your client is paying you or not. Unless you have a contract with your subcontractor saying that back to back, I don't get paid, you don't get paid. We take the risk together. Do you have that type of contract with your subcontractor? You don't do it. So if you don't, then whenever that they submit their claim, you have to assess their claim and you have to pay them. If you have financial difficulty, you can sit down with your subcontractor and then ask for their extension. There's no choice. You can ask for their understanding. We are trying our best to transfer payment already. Can you guys give me a little bit more time because, you know, the money is not received, you know? You can tell them that. Most subcontractor, they would not also be so difficult on you lah, kan? But of course, if they are just label subcontractor, you know, they are working from day, you know, their workers are day pay kind of thing. They are also having difficulty. You see, you don't pay them, they can't pay their workers, and now the workers run away, they cannot work for you. That's why they say they cannot work for you if you don't pay them.
Agree, doctor.
Yeah, because their workers, their machine drivers, when they want salary, they want salary. If they don't want, you don't pay them, they go to your office and, you know, break your windows. So they have no choice, So you have to pay your subcontractor. I learned this from my own father. You know, my father is in the contracting business. He has always been paying his subcontractor. No matter how difficult it is, he said, I have to pay my subcontractor. Not many people appreciate him, I suppose, but the thing is, he has a good reputation. And then whenever he wants to look for future people to work for him, it's very easy. Business is a trust. Construction is the business. It's about trust. That is more than how clever you are, how good you are. That is only 50%. You know, if you're a specialist subcontractor, you have many experience, you're good at it, you're good at management, these are only 50%. 50% is trust. You call people, say that I want 5 tons of steel, your supplier know that you have a very good reputation, they send the thing to you without question asked and give you 3 months of billing time. Those will be the kind of relationship you need to build up, Isabel, with your subcontractor and your supplier. Any contractor firm who ignore their subcontractor and their supplier and always want to tekan them or always want to miss payment for these people, you will not go far in your contracting business. Never. You will never survive. A lot of young people go out there, they start a contracting firm. They don't know the importance of the downstream people. These are the people who will actually supply you with material. These are the people who will actually supply you with labor and machineries and all that. They are important. You need to pay them. That is number one. You have to build up that 50%, the good reputation that when people see your contractor firm, you know, they trust you. Slowly, one day, bit by bit, maybe 2 years down the track, you talk to one of them and you say that, hey, you know, I'm having some financial difficulties because my client is not paying me. Can you give me another month? Maybe they will say, okay. Or maybe they will say, maybe if you can you help me to pay me 50% first, and then I will I will actually once you receive the other payment, you pay me back the rest. They can give you that kind of convenience, we call it, you know. So how do you deal with it? You cannot stop paying your people. That is important. You know, can you stop paying your engineers? I mean, would you be happy if people stop? You know, your boss come back to you one day and say that, you know, this month no salary. Any one of you accept that? No, can. Huh? If you can't accept that, what makes other people can accept that? But with your relationship with the contractor, I mean, with your relationship with your client, this is something that you have to manage in a separate picture. Payment and payment and the art of phasing payment and the art of costing is very important here. It's a different game that you play with your subcontractor and supplier. With your subcontractor and supplier, you simply pay with the game of trust. But you always have to remember, if they don't deliver, you don't have to be scared of them as well. Okay? Don't be like, oh, because they are the subcontractor, you know, you takut they don't supply you or they don't want to come to work and then you get scared of them. If they do wrong, you also have to put your feet down and say that I can pay you if you do a good job. No matter I go bankrupt, I won't pay you. Tapi, if you give me like kalang kabut thing, I cannot pay you. I mean, I cannot pay you for stupid kind of things that you do, you see? So you need to make your image very clear. So that is a very simple game with a subcontractor. Strict discipline, yet you are having good reputation. That is very important. But with your client, your cost management, you have to be careful. Number one, when you know the reputation of that client or the issues that what they have or the consultant or whatever that they have, you need to be very careful in your costing. Meaning that many part of the costing, you need to increase certain amount for delay payment. Yeah. So meaning that your price have to be good. If you go for very cheap price, very, very cheap price under the cost, even for some projects, you will have issues. Correct or not? You will have issues in your payment. And then you manage your cash flow. Be very pessimistic about the cash flow. Meaning that when you do your cost planning, be very pessimistic. If you think that the money will come in 3 months, you better add in another 2 months. This is a risk calculation that you have to think about. Yeah, so be very pessimistic about cash flow. You need to know that if your normal cash flow is, in a normal event, you'll be receiving money and you will have already got 500,000 sitting in your bank, you cannot cap it a day. You must go for more. You must go for 20% more or 30% more, extra time, extra money. So meaning that your cash flow has to be a lot stronger. Contractor is all about the cash flow. You must have good cash flow. And that is about managing your cash flow. So you have to be very pessimistic, meaning that even though you think that you can receive money this month, don't be optimistic. Give it another month, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. You understand what I'm trying to say, Isabel? You know, when you manage your contractor's firm, number one, not too cheap. You cannot be too cheap, meaning that you cannot say that I go for very cheap pricing. Huh? It has to be very reasonable. If you have you better off. I'm saying this is because I've experienced it many times. If you think that you keep on giving higher price and you cannot get a job, then your company has no job. And you're worried about no job. And we worry about no job, but I tell you, if you got a job that is way below the cost, and then later on your client even delay in paying you, you will have a very bad financial situation. So you're rather off not getting the job. You know, not getting a job could be a blessing in disguise. You just continue to quote according to your own level of specialties. You know, like, this is my pricing. I will give you good job. I will give you a good, I will finish a job. Our company has good reputation. I've got support from my supplier. I've got support from my subcontractor. We can deliver, but you must pay me this amount. You must have that pricing there. You must have that leeway in your pricing. So I mean, like, if let's say for people I know is very slow in payment, I would even increase certain amount, meaning that when your claim is actually like let's say you're claiming for this work and you know that they are very slow in terms of payment. So certain numbers of certain components of the work I may mark up so that when I claim more. So when I claim more, my next round while waiting, I am not so in a bad shape. You see, so this is how I manage the cash flow. But obviously, managing cash flow also include you must get enough funding. There must be enough funding sitting there in the bank to tie you through very difficult time when the client is not paying you and all that. But like I said, contractually, you have got a contractual way of dealing with it. But if you're not going to be dealing with it contractually, but I would say for all engineers, bear in mind, even though you don't plan to deal with your client contractually, meaning that go to court, go to dispute, but it's important as well to keep proof, to keep that you request for payment, to keep that they have delayed payment, continue writing every week, every week or every 2 weeks and ask for your payment. Continue chasing for your payment. Keep proof about the delayed payment. Yeah, that's one thing that you can do. Should you decided to take legal action, that is the proof that you have. You have got all the documentation. But on the other hand, you must also prepare your cash flow. Normally, we would say you must have enough to pay your supplier to do the normal running of the project, day in, day out. If not, then I think you guys are approaching it not correctly lah, in that sense lah, huh? That means your company is financially not strong enough to do jobs. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, doctor.
Yeah, like I said, manage your cash flow, manage your tender pricing, and of course, keep your proof. Continue to keep your proof for potential legal actions or potential dispute resolution. And if they really don't pay you, you must continue working. You cannot take people out of sight, but you can start to reduce your workers. This is done stage by stage. It cannot be this month they don't pay you and then you decide to stop work. There's no such thing. So it will be like you continue to work, but if let's say next month they still don't pay you, they already delayed 2 months, then you could probably stop ordering certain materials, or delay certain materials, or you have to manage your site, huh? And then tell your subcontractor or take out some people from the job site. But make sure that the amount that you take out is not so obvious that people are saying that you are not working diligently. You see? So, and also so that they don't say that it's your fault that you are not, the contractors are lazy, they're not doing their job, and therefore the project is delayed later, you see. So we need to slowly take out the job while you are, take out the people or take up the material and all that, just to give a feeling that you are slowing down, but do it like a warning kind of thing, like not so much of I'm not threatening you, but we are busy somewhere where since the payment is not here yet, I have to find another job, kind of thing. Nicely, like indicate that you're not paying me, but we never say that. You never say it on paper or never say straight to them that you're not paying me. So you ask me to eat shit, then how? I had to go and get other job. So I'm going out. So we're not talking like that. We're just like giving a bit of hint here, hint there, that, you got to pay me. If not, I have to do something. Well, we're not threatening, that kind of method,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of art here, art of communication actually, yeah, with construction, yes. Okay. But when you give it to private, it can be harsh. You can be harsher. With government, yeah, you have to really, I'm not saying that government agency is the greatest thing ever, I mean, but we all know they have problems. Some of you work inside government agency, there's a lot of issues as well. Well, unfortunately, we do our parts, okay? We do our parts. That's all I can say, yeah? Okay. Do I answer you? I kind
Yeah,
of
doctor.
So it's like the flow, like it's not a very straightforward kind of questions, honestly. And like I said, you have to manage your own financial cash flow. That means you have to understand your resources very clearly. So have to know your costing very clearly as well. What you can delay, you have to understand your schedule very well also. Maybe you can slow down in work that is on non-critical part. Say that if it's non-critical path, then you purposely take out those people, I give some feeling that people are getting a bit less here, because they're not, kind of like not saying it, but also kind of like hinting that, it's difficult time, we're not receiving payment, my workers run away already, kind of thing, but yeah, so say in a softer way, but we never put it on paper and say that, I'm not coming to work because you're not paying me, see? Because contractually, you're supposed to work diligently. If you're not working diligently, if there's a delay later on, you've got to pay for that delay, you see? And they're not going to award you with EOT because that is admitting to the fact that they're not paying you on time. So no, they wouldn't award you with the EOT because they are not paying you on time. If they're not paying you on time in the first place, which is ethically already wrong, what makes you think that they are going to award you with an EOT later? You see, so being a contractor is a very difficult thing, honestly. Honestly, contractor, if you are not cash rich as in you have enough fund. I'm not saying that the contractor himself is rich. The company must have enough of cash for them to actually pay everybody even without receiving payment. This is something that
Very hard to find.
very hard to find, honestly. But I'm sad to say why must it be like that? In this society, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think that it's a very bad it's like a black hole in this particular engineering trade. We're going down that kind of direction, and it's even worse now after COVID, honestly, because after COVID, there's so much excuse from the contractor, there's so much excuse from the client as well about non-payment and all that. I think things are not looking well in that sense. But honestly, my final thing is, you want to be a contractor, you must be
Financially stable.
you must okay, young contractor, don't be too ambitious. Okay, I'm not sure if you understand what I'm trying to say here. Don't be too ambitious. Don't be too ambitious means that unless you have a cash rich father that open a company for you, and then no matter how much money you need, they can pump in. Okay, if you don't have that background, okay, or you have a big investor behind you, if not, young contractor, number one, don't go and bid for super big job. Don't. First of all, technically, you don't have the experience. Number two, you want to fight with this other big contractor, your price has to be low. And when your price is very low, you get the tender, means that your cash flow is not going to be good in the first place. Okay? Some young contractors are young people who graduate a few years, they open a contractor firm, they are very ambitious. They go and get very difficult jobs, and then they think that they can do it, but then they cannot do it. That's number one. Technically, they cannot do it. They don't have the experience. This is not about learning from books, and then you can do construction. It has to come from experience. Then after that, then they bid very low. They go and get very, very cheap, very cheap job. You know, they put their prices so low. And this is a two combination that will equal to disaster. Many young people come out like that. I've seen many young fellow these days, too ambitious. And then the third thing that they do is they bid for so many type of jobs. Get a lot of jobs. So you can see that effect. First, they get a lot of jobs. So they have already got very deep commitment. Okay. And if they're not cash rich, can you imagine their cash flow? Every project needs technical, need people, need material, and they are not cash. They don't have cash flow. They think that they can wait for payment from the client. And that is something that are so wrong. Every contractor must remember that no client pay you on time. And some clients even don't pay. I've got survey that about 30% or 20 to 30% of design engineers and also contractor end up having non-payment. It's a fact. So take that as your bottom line. Remember, when you tender for a job, client don't pay you on time. They never pay you on time, and some may not even pay you. Remember that. Based on that fundamental condition, you start to look for jobs that you think you can handle, technically and also financially. And don't overcommit into different projects. And when you have different projects and some project, the cash flow got stuck all at the same time, because they need to pay people all at the same time, then mati lah, bankrupt lah. Okay? So immediately tomorrow can collapse on. And why I say these young contractors, they are very ambitious, they take a lot of jobs, they don't have enough cash flow, and they don't have enough, they're not strong financially, and they take a lot of jobs, and then they also quote too low. These are the combination that really will basically means disaster, problem. And on top of that, why is it a problem? Because they don't have reputation yet. Why is there a cash flow problem? Isabel, can you see why is there a cash flow problem? Because they don't have reputation yet. They are very new. They don't have much portfolio. They may have done one or two small jobs before this. Which subcontractor will trust them? Which experienced subcontractor will want to work for them? Which supplier will give them terms? No. If you are new to the market, you go to any supplier, the price they will quote there is X factory. The moment my lorry ready, want to send the pipe or send the machine or send whatever, you pay first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have a reputation. That's why I said a young contractor, go and get 2-3 jobs, but get jobs that you technically can do, and then not heavy in terms of material, maybe. Like let's say pipeline. Pipeline is a lot of money in material. Like for the first 70% is material. And you're going to order. When you order, you cannot order like, oh, can I order like 10 batang pipe from a supplier, you know. People order is like hundreds of pieces one. Thousands of pieces coming in. Where are you going to get money to pay people? Huh? So supplier don't talk like that with you one. They don't talk like 10 pieces, 20 pieces, no. And then even 10, 20 pieces, they sell you, you have to pay cash. So you see the whole cycle is like a chicken and egg situation. If you put yourself in the first place, they already by getting a lot of jobs that you cannot handle, and then you're young, and then the subcontractor don't trust you. And if they don't trust you, every month they want payment. Cannot negotiate one. Even some of them, half a month, they already want to come and get payment from you, you know. They don't trust you. So the trust is very important. So when the supplier trusts you, you call them, can I order some, this amount of pipe? Okay, can, no problem, I will settle it for you. And then they give you like 30 days, they give you 60 days, they give you 90 days. That will help with cash flow. We call it terms, you see. So you must have that. If you don't have that, it doesn't work. All right, so this is this cost control component. So get it right in the first place. You see, you cannot be too ambitious in the first place. Young people cannot be too ambitious in the first place. Build up, build up. There is one reason people get old, you know, because they have experience, they have slowly built up their business to where they are today. No contractor is that they you know, like a lot of money like that. But how many of them go bankrupt, or how many of them tomorrow go bankrupt? How many of them tonight cannot sleep? You know or not? You don't know. You only see people, wow, one project, few $1 billion, $100 of million. If I earn 1% pun, I kaya sudah. It's not that easy. You see? So the whole process here is really learning from project to project, and you build up that portfolio. Then you learn about cash flow. You learn about managing your cash flow. You learn about building up your cash flow, meaning that your company, not that you earn and then after that you spend, you know, like keep the money for the next project. That will be your cash flow for the next project. Having good reputation also means that bank will also borrow you money. You see, if you have bad reputation, people also don't borrow you money. You see, so this reputation is very important. Goodwill of the company is worth a lot of money. So as a contractor, the most valuable thing is not only your skills, it's your reputation. Yeah, your reputation. You must have that. You must learn to do that. Have good reputation. Okay. Good reputation about what? Can deliver. Okay. Good reputation is not about cheap. It's always can deliver and they can pay people. That is good reputation. The rest are all bullshit. Okay. The rest are they're the cheapest or whatever, no use one. You are better off having the good I can deliver and I can pay people. That is the two things that you must take care of. All right. All right. So I think there's a very good, interesting discussion about cost management. I also want to show you on I've already put this in the cost in detail cost management. Let me find the notes for you. Where is it? Okay. I'm going to show you, because we're nearing the end of the class already, I want to show you the format to do your work on detailed estimates. I think, let me try to find my notes. Where is my notes? Young people, don't spoil your own reputation. That is worth a lot of money, okay? Let me refer to my project management notes. Somewhere here. I think I've already posted up in your group. It's a sample for WBS and resources data sheet. Okay, so you can build up your resources data sheets. Like say, you can have a resources data sheet that looks something like that with different materials and all that. So this is the part that you do your resources planning, your materials, a different type of work, your work breakdown with different type of material and the quantity. That's very important. And then you have your skills, semi-skills, your material, your list. But if the list is related to the to the work. You know, I'm not asking you to give me a list, you see, so you must list it with relation to the work itself. Okay, and then after that, yeah, I think this is the sample that I have. What other samples do I have? Let me take a look. It's the same thing. Yeah, no, it's just okay. Let's take a look at this. Okay, I've also got a very good samples the other day from one of my students. Yeah, so yeah, here you see, what you can do is you have to build up normal detail costing work. You've got to build up your work breakdown, and then of course the quantity of work, and that of course is related to the material. So you can do a material list, and the material, I won't say material list, but a material quantity layout with the different type of works that are available, and then from there, you already, here I don't really require you to calculate your productivity rate and all, I mean your duration. You can, if you've already used the same project that Dr. Lee has, you already got your time. Okay, you've already got the duration. This duration is very important. Why do we need quantity? Because you need to have productivity rate and then the duration in terms of days, and then this will be used later on for you to calculate your unit cost per day, you see, and your machines and all that. This is only a sample, so I'll post it up as well in your notes later on, so you can create a sheets like that. So this part here, if you've already done it for your project, for your assignment to come up with the duration, if it's the same project that you're using, you can take the duration directly from your old project. So what you need to do is come up with the material layout, like what I've shown you just now. Come up with the material layout, machinery layout, and also the manpower layout. Okay, and then from this layout, or you can combine that into like a one sheet like this. What is it? This is PDF, yeah, PDF. Where is it? Oh, here, sorry. Here. Right. So yeah, so what you do is you can just you can combine it into a one sheet like this if you want. I have no objection, because there are many samples that I have here. Some of these are good, some of this is not so good. So this is an adequate WBS, okay, and generally okay, this WBS, and then we have this other layout, other type of layout, but the layout will be dealing with, definitely number one, you need to get your resources ready, and then after that, your resources layout ready, and then how do you convert that into an estimator worksheet? You know, everybody can do it differently, different group can do it differently. These are only some samples that I don't really say that these are the best ever work and then you must copy exactly from there. Some of it are better, some of it are not so clear, and this is only what we call an estimator worksheet, you see. So if you have an estimator worksheet, most of the estimator worksheet will be talking about getting ready your material. So first is your material. So this fellow here, you see, this one is not bad. They have the material for the different works and all that, and then the unit cost of the material, because material is also part of your cost map. So then after that, they put down material 1, material 2, material 3, material 4, all the materials. And then after that, they also have like machineries. I think there's one sheet that says on machineries. There's this group actually split up all the machineries. So machineries with labor. Yeah, so labor and material. So you see label, different labels. Some people, they use gang. So 1 gang, 2 gangs, like the gang inside there is what? So they have the structure gang, they have the civil gang, they have the they also have the let's say waterworks gang, you know. So different gangs will have different people. and then they, instead of one label, one type of label, two type of label, this is type of label, you see. So they under mobilization, they have operator, general workers, you see. So they list it down first. They do this very clear resources worksheet first before they do the unit rate. And that unit rate has to be in conjunction with the time. So time-wise, like I said, if you've already done it with Dr. Lee, that particular schedule, you can use the time there and convert that straight away, use the time there and put it here. So the rate is $178 ringgit. And total rate is, the engine is 178 ringgit. So by how many days, for example, then, or this is already per day kind of rate. So then if you are working for like site engineers, no lah, you know, we don't do it like that. So we will go for the workers. The workers is, let's say, the rate is $60 per day. And then if you have like 50 days of working for that particular activity, it's 60 times 50 times by 2 workers, and you get the final figure, you see. So how you lay out the worksheet is, there are samples here, okay, but does not mean that you have to follow the samples. These are not one of the greatest work that is out there, but since I've got this sample, I thought I will show it to you. I mean, I've compiled this from many years of different students doing different kind of work, you know. So I see there's some not so bad one. I put it in and let you guys have a look. It's also easier for me to explain now. And then they do a final final estimator worksheet on summary of the cost. They can put material, labor, machinery summary, plus altogether, plus wastage, plus contingency, plus profit, or for 20% profit. This guy don't know what the contractor don't earn 20% profit lah, huh? Yeah, so then the grand total, and then you add up. So this is something that I expect you all to do. You come up with the estimator worksheet. This is a very bad samples about work breakdown structure. I don't like it when you copy your B2, you know, copy your B2 and make this your work breakdown structure. So I mentioned that these are not so good kind of work breakdown, but the resources bit, you can take a look, and maybe if you want to use this sort of method for your resources, WBS definitely no. Okay, I don't like this type of WBS. This is actually copied direct from the EQ, from the company kind of thing. Yeah. Right. Any other samples? Yeah. Okay, this is a good layout. I like this layout. This group is good. Yeah. So they have this layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 layout, and then what is the name of the work, the name of that particular work. Then, or you can put the name of the work and then etc. etc. So from there, you can put the name of the work and then lay out like that. So this is the name of that material that they're using. So the quantity, okay, the rates, the total, and then the machineries, and then the numbers of days. Again, you need to know your schedule first before you can do this. So you need to put in your introduction or your background of study the schedule that you're using, you see. So either you work out on your schedule, or you have to give me a schedule, or you have to, you already have a schedule. It doesn't matter. Or you use the one that Dr. Lee asked you to do. If it's the same project, very welcome. All right, so these are the samples. Machineries, manpower, you see. They use gang, team F, team C, team D, and one gang, how many, what is the rate per day or per hours. These particular assignments, I don't think they have done like up to more than 24, because there are still things that are not so clear. They didn't do it properly. This is only part of the table. You need explanation, ladies and gentlemen. You really need to write your thing properly. So meaning that whatever that you're doing here, you must have explanation in the report. If you don't have explanation in the report, we will normally see it as we will normally don't think that that is a good kind of work lah, huh? Yeah. If I can find some more example for you, I will post it up tomorrow lah, huh? So I think these are some samples for us to do our detailed costing work. But basically, basic, you need to have material, machinery, and manpower. There's of course other things like, for example, maybe even transportations, or even site officers, the preliminary and general things. And then also there are other elements of course, such as contingency, wastage, all these things. But I'm not asking you to do everything. Mainly, I want you to focus on material, machinery, and manpower. Okay. All right, so there's about 3 samples here. I will try to find another 1 or 2 just to let you have a look. You don't have to copy, these are not something for you to copy, but for you to understand that, we want you all to map out your resources. You can do your resources in different sheets as well. Then after that, from there, you work out on the rate, the quantity, and then the rate. So most of it, the resources sheet will give you the quantity of labor required, the machinery required, the material required, and then from the material, machinery, and quantity required, you times it with the rate. And where did you get the rate from? And that's how you work out on the costing. Okay, is that clear? So this is detailed costing work. So we have got our analogy estimates, we've got our expert opinion, analogy estimate, parametric estimates. We've also got our definitive estimates. We've also got our detailed estimates. And all these 5 estimates are used at different stages of the project. And that is the main concern that we are talking about. You need to know when to use it. And before you can think about what rate to use, how many people to use, and what type of machinery to use, you need to refer back to your project nature, your system thinking, to be very clear about what sort of rate that you want to put here. You see, rate is not about just copying some rate from JKR or CIDB or get any rate from anywhere. It's not like that. The rate, it will be different from individual to individual. If there is any logistic problem, individual company to individual company, if there's any logistic problem, some of these machineries, you may have a higher rate, you see. So if manpower, if there's any logistic problem, some of this manpower will be higher rate because you're asking your workers to go far to do their work, you see. So you cannot pay them normal market rate. It maybe have to be higher. Yeah. So you see, even rate itself, I need to see the logic in your rate. So this is not like an assignment that you copy rate from here and there. You take rate from JKR, you take rate from the company, that's fine. But you use it as a reference, but you must also explain that this rate, you've already included the thinking about the project nature. So if there's soil problem, you may have to do extra tasks, you see, and that costs money. So write that down, that this is under the consideration. There may be authority requirement, and authority requirement that specifically asks for certain type of construction that need high maintenance later. So you may need to add in certain costs, material or machinery about that, you see. So again, refer when you convert your project into a costing estimator worksheet, the fundamental things is your system thinking about your project. You understand or not? Yeah? Before you can talk about that, how well you do that part will determine how good the marks you get, you see. If people who can present that very well in the report, how they translate the project nature into the costing, definitely you are there to see a 27 out of 30 or even a 28 out of 30. But if you're just going to give me like this with all the numbers, you won't get more than a 22, 23, depending on how well you do this particular estimator worksheet and how well you explain in the report, you see. You understand? This is the requirement. This is like how we give you A, how we give you B, how we give you C, you see. If you want to give me this table, obviously you won't be getting anything more than 20 marks out of 30. That's for sure. if it comes with a good explanation about the rate, about the numbers that is required, about the type of machinery that are required, then obviously you're going to get 24, 25. But if you do a translation from project nature, project characteristic, project environment, to your costing, to your rate, to your type of machinery, type of material, etc., then final worksheet is like this with samples calculation and all that. Excellent. Then you're off to get a 90 even, and you can even do even better in the exam if you can do that. All right, huh? So I think get yourself started and see how you go, and then we will talk again next week, huh? Yeah. Any questions? So break yourself up into groups, lah, huh?
Alright, Doctor.
Okay. No more questions? Anyone else have any questions? If no, then we will just call it a day, lah, huh? It's been 3 hours already.
Yeah, no questions so far. Yeah, doctor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye bye.